Right. If we could, we're going to be recording this session. So if you have an issue with that, you can address our questions offline. Happy to help you out, but we were going to record this so that everybody has access to it that's not able to make it. So good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're coming from. My name is Julie Lenzer, and I am the Chief Innovation Officer at the University of Maryland. I'm also the founding director of the Quantum Startup Foundry. So welcome to today's webinar. Hopefully we'll go through the presentation, then leave some time for some Q&A. If you do have questions, you can put them in the Q&A in the webinar, and we'll be answering those as we go along or at the end, depending on where it makes sense. So the Quantum Startup Foundry. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the motivation behind the Quantum Startup Foundry, what our approach is, how we're doing that, and next steps. So it should be fairly straightforward. So Quantum at the University of Maryland, we've been doing this for 30 years, and I suspect that a number of you have been researchers in quantum for a long time as well. The University of Maryland has over 200 researchers, one of the greatest concentrations in the world. We are number 2 among public institutions in quantum physics and one of the top 10 universities in the world in quantum research. So this is something we've been doing for quite a while. In addition, our region, last January, we formed the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance. And so we have access to quite a number of really high-end quantum resources, partners, universities, government labs. In fact, in Maryland, there's about 75 government labs, US government that is, and a number of companies that are working in this space. The university itself is actually very focused on innovation and translation of research results into startups. And so we have over 60 programs for innovation and entrepreneurship, including a top-ranked business school. This is our innovation gateway. If you want to see some of the resources that we have, innovate.umd.edu. But it's all of these assets and these resources that we're building on that led us to starting the Quantum Startup Foundry. But there was one event that really, I would say, was the catalyst. So we did start working on the idea for the Quantum Startup Foundry about a year ago. And then earlier this year, many of you may have heard of a company, IonQ, with their announcement to go public with a $2 billion valuation. And in conversations with startup Chris Monroe, really realizing that we had something interesting here. We have something unique here in this ecosystem. This was really the catalyst that said, now is the time for us to launch the Quantum Startup Foundry. So one of the first things that we did is we did a customer discovery, and some of you on this call may have been part of that discovery. So we went out and said, like any good startup operation, what are the customer needs? And we ended up reaching out to about 40 startup entrepreneurs and speaking with them in customer discovery roundtables. And it was your feedback, their feedback, that we used to develop what the Quantum Startup Foundry, what we would be offering, and the types of activities and services that you need to further quantum startups. And to be clear, the Quantum Startup Foundry is programs and resources that were uniquely designed to advance quantum startups. So I didn't say a little bit about my background. So I am a recovering entrepreneur. I'm actually not an academic. I'm an angel investor. I have done software startups, worked with Fortune 100 clients. And I also worked with the US government. I was the director of the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And through that, I was able to fund ecosystems all over the country that were doing technology-based startups. And so I know that we've got a lot of great resources already out there. And our goal is not to duplicate anything that's already out there, but really to provide additive resources and services that are specific for quantum startups. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And one of the things I like to say, because it's true, right? Starting a business isn't rocket science, but a rocket scientist might not know how to do it. And so we're here as a resource to help fill that gap. So what is the Quantum Startup Foundry? As I mentioned, it's a community of resources and support, and the very infrastructure, the very foundation of it is the research and education, infrastructure, which are tools, facilities, and equipment, and talent, access to talent, PhDs, postdocs, students, but not just that, but also entrepreneurs and mentors to help with the business side of it, all fueling the startups, both pre-startup and post-startup, to connect with customers. And so we're really focused on as a market accelerator, market traction, bringing investors and funding opportunities, service providers, et cetera. And I'm going to go through some of these specific offerings in more detail here. So as I mentioned, we're addressing the challenges unique to Quantum. So access to customers is one of the things any startup needs, but particularly with the nascent the nascent status of Quantum, understanding what the customer needs are, what are the unique use cases, how can you talk to different types of customers about how Quantum, whether it's computing, sensing, materials, internet, cyber, we're not necessarily focusing on any one technology base for Quantum, but then how do you understand what the customers want and need? And so that's a really big focus of what we're doing here. We're also offering assistance with small business innovation research or small technology transfer research, SBIR-STTR, which is a US-based program from the Small Business Administration that provides, it's the America's Seed Fund is what they call it. It's a great source of non-dilutive capital. But then also connecting to targeted investors and other funding opportunities. Another feedback that we heard from you is regulatory guidance, understanding how to navigate some of the export controls when you're shipping your products or devices from between different countries. Access to talent was also something we really heard loud and clear. And so we're working on connecting through our ecosystem and through our partners, which I'll talk about in just a minute, access to talent, a pipeline of quantum-ready workforce. And through our partners, as I just mentioned, which include things like the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, which I already talked to, the Potomac Quantum Innovation Center, which is a regional program that brings government, academia, and industry together. We're doing some marketing campaigns. And so you have an opportunity as part of the QSF to include your brand in some of these marketing opportunities as we're helping to educate folks on the power and the promise of Quantum. So we'll be working, giving our startups that we're working with or our companies that we're working with access to do some of this marketing. And then, we do have office and lab space, but it is not required. This program, no part of this program, I take that back. There's parts of it, if there's certain funding that we have that you have to be local and reside in Maryland, but we are not requiring anyone to relocate their company to Maryland. However, we do have awesome office and we're bringing up some lab space. The picture that you see here is a new 350,000 square foot development. It's still a couple years off, but it's going to be the home of Quantum. And in the interim, we have some interim facilities that you can come and locate your business there, both office and we'll have lab space available. One of the exciting things about our office is it is on a gigapop internet. Mid-Atlantic Crossroads is a unit within the University of Maryland, which provides very high throughput, research grade, and secure access to secure internet. And they are currently working on a project around the quantum internet with some of our other researchers at University of Maryland. We are working on access to specialized tools, equipment, computing resources, supply chains, and facilities. And so we're still building that out. So if you have specific equipment and tool needs, please let us know. This is going to be more than just what we have here at the University of Maryland. This, again, is where we're really jumping in and taking advantage of our entire ecosystem through the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, the various government labs that we have in the area. And our goal is to find a way we're going to make this easy access so that you can get access to this network of facilities and equipment in a way that you couldn't with it, not being just coming off the street. And then also, we recognize that intellectual property was also the folks that we talked to, that sometimes the terms and getting access to strong IP is a challenge. And so we can help coach you through that. We also are doing an inventory of our regional intellectual property that we can make available to you, and doing express licenses and things like that, so that we can kind of get from technology idea and get started on translating that as quick as possible. So now I'm going to go into each one of these individual programs. As I mentioned, the Traction program is really about connecting with partners for teaming opportunities, market validation, and feedback. So we have large contractors in our region that are interested in what are some of the up and coming startups and technologies in quantum. They've asked us for access to these startups. And so we'll be doing some of this one-on-one matchmaking. Actually, here's the details there. We're going to be doing tailored services based on your needs. And we'll put together a memorandum of understanding. We're not asking for equity to do this. We're not asking for you to move, but we are asking you, we will be curating applications and we will be selecting people who are ready for this type of a program. And we're going to ask you to show up and to use your best efforts and, to go through some of our programming to help you understand how best to work with large companies. So it's a rolling application process. It's not a cohort based. And again, because we will be working one-on-one with each company to tailor the connections and the support that you need. We're looking at a one-year program. You'll sign up for a one-year program, and then there's options to renew as you start to grow and thrive. We are looking for companies that have a minimum viable product, an MVP, or some other evidence of product, and you have to have some evidence of product market fit so that we know that you've done some of the work. We'll be providing a discount on space and equipment usage as part of this program. And then, as I mentioned, curated access to potential customers and partners. We are working on a partnership with a very large company that can provide access across a number of industries. And I was hoping to be able to announce it today. Unfortunately, you'll just have to be watching for that, which should be very soon. But opening up that gateway so that we can get you to the customers and the partners that you might want to help take your product and your service to the market. And then also, as I mentioned, participating in educational marketing campaigns to help get your brand out there. The next program is called Pre-Traction, and the goal of that program is really to improve competitiveness for these SBIR and STTR awards. So specifically, this is a cohort-based program, which will be starting around mid-June, and it's being taught by Small Business Administration, SBA certified instructors and folks from the National I-Corps program that have been doing this for a long time. So the structure is it's going to be roughly 6 weeks curriculum. Again, it's not required to be on site. This is all virtual. Then there'll also be one-on-one coaching sessions and a follow-on I-Corps program. And for those of you who aren't familiar with I-Corps, it's in the US, it's the National Science Foundation's Innovation Corps, and it's really hyper-focused on customer discovery. And we do a lot of work also with kind of building out your team and making sure that the product and you understand where the market is for the product and or services that you are trying to bring to market. We believe so strongly in the I-Corps program. That's why we've rolled it into here. We are a node here at the University of Maryland. We partner with a number of our institutions or other universities in the region to deliver these programs. And we just think it's a really important part of any startup, especially a technology startup's journey. And so as part of the Pre-Traction, we also, as I mentioned, have access to a number of customers in different industries. And so especially for phase 2 SBIRs, you need to have support letters, or it's really good to have support letters from customers, and we're providing streamlined access to that. So the amount of, for those of you who aren't familiar with SBIR programs, the phase 1 is generally 100,000 plus or minus. It depends on the institution or the government lab that is delivering that. But then when you get into phase 2, we're talking in the millions. That's when we start to get to the big bucks. And so we can walk you through all that process. And there's an outline of the topics that we'll be talking about, kind of the basics. How do you collaborate with research institutions on these? We'll be doing just a little bit of an intro into I-Corps so you understand what it is, and talk about building teams there, talking about how these institutions evaluate these applications and the budgets, proposal writing, and then different resources that we have available in the region, and how to plan out your strategy, not to just get the phase 1, but to go after the larger dollars in the follow-on phases of SBIR. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A. There will be lots of time at the end for question and answer. So the third pillar is around capital connections. So we're looking at our regional successes and our ecosystem to connect startups with capital. So what does that specifically mean? So in September of 2021, we are going to be having a Quantum Investment Summit. And there will be opportunities for folks to actually apply to pitch investors. We're going to be bringing innovators and investors together, doing one-to-one matchmaking, having curated small group discussions around specific topics that our investors are interested in. We're looking to do this in 2 half days in person, but with virtual components. And the reason that we're doing 2 half days is to accommodate a more global audience. So that if we have folks overseas that aren't able to come to the US for this does not preclude you from applying for the one-for-one matchmaking. And we'll have showcases for both startup and growth companies as a part of that event. In addition, for companies that are actually located in Maryland, have an office in Maryland, we have a bunch of other capital options. We have something that we'll be launching called the Discovery Fund, which will, and these are, most of these are equity-based. The Maryland Momentum Fund, which is run by the University System of Maryland, and the Maryland Venture Fund, and all of those are equity-based. We have good partnerships with, I am on actually the executive committee of the Maryland Momentum Fund. The Maryland Venture Fund is a state-based program, so it is more of an economic development investment program. I believe you do have to have your headquarters in Maryland. But we have access to a bunch of different types. And we run an angel group called the Dingman Center Angels, which is the most active angel group in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, as well as ties to investors that have invested in some of our spinoffs, such as IonQ. Other programs that we have at the state of Maryland, Maryland Industrial Partnerships, MIPS program. I will send out a copy of these slides so you can click through to the link. It provides funding for you to collaborate with researchers at the university, and the funding actually pays the researchers to work with you to do things like testing and validation or further development of your products through their labs. And then TEDCO, Maryland Innovation Initiative, requires collaboration with the Maryland University, but that is starts out as non-dilutive funding, and then their second phase company formation is $150,000 that is generally a convertible note. So that's the capital details. One of the questions came, are the terms for these funds fixed or the terms decided on a case-by-case basis? They are not fixed, they are decided on a case-by-case basis, and that's primarily because we know that we're going to be dealing with companies at all different levels of development. So for me to say I'm going to give you $25,000 for 5% of your company, there's just no way I can say that. I'm going to guess that there are some companies whose valuation is way beyond that, and companies who maybe aren't quite there yet. So we recognize that that you're all at different stages, and so we're not setting any well, you have to give up this much equity for this much money. We'll be doing those deals, but I will tell you that we're very because I'm a entrepreneur myself. We're generally friendly terms, right? So we will work with you on that. All right, next. So we also have an international soft landing, which is a landing and launch pad for international companies. So this is something that we've actually been doing for about 12 years now. So we've had a soft landing operation. We've had foreign companies that have set up an office in the US and have started off in our incubator and then gone on to grow and have to move out, and they're actually, many of them are still in our research park, so still close by. So we help we can help establish with a US entity, give you physical office space. And then most importantly, I think jumping into any new ecosystem is how do you get connected to the business and the research partners that you need to drive your business. US-based talent, if you're going to be accessing government funding, there are we understand what all the restrictions are, what you have to do to be able to qualify for that. We can help you through that, as well as going after small business innovation research. Those generally need to be US entities and US citizens, but we can help you connect with partners that there might be opportunities for you to access some of that funding. And so we have the experience and expertise with navigating all of that for foreign companies. So our advisory board, these are not all of our advisory board members, the ones whom we could share their logos with you, but they've been a really important part of coming up with what this is and how this should look and how we're going to deliver it. And they're also then our partners in, as we're connecting you with the ecosystem, the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, especially in the Potomac Quantum Innovation Center. IBM's been very active with this, MITRE, Crypt, and IonQ. So we had startups, we had academia. George Mason University has a great materials lab. And so getting access to all of these resources and networks, this is really the multiplier effect. This is where the multiplies comes in, is through our network. So what's the process for entangling with QSF? Sorry, we couldn't go all the way through without some type of a quantum reference. Right now it's submitting your application. You can either go onto our website and fill out our web form, which is quantum.umd.edu/startup. It was earlier in the presentation, and we'll also make sure everybody has that. Most likely you probably found us through that. You can email it to qsf@umd.edu. All we're asking for right now is we're not asking for anything confidential. There's no need to fill out non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. So we're just asking for a non-confidential executive summary and a pitch deck if you have one. And we really want to know a short statement on why you're applying and what you hope to achieve. So once we receive your information, we'll then schedule a screening meeting where you'll meet with our team to talk about your company. And I know that a number of you have already met with our teams, and thank you for that. And then once we accept you into one of the programs, we'll do an intake meeting with our QSF team to develop and review a tailored plan for you. And I think this is where this is really different because, again, we do recognize that quantum computing is different than quantum sensing, is different than materials and internet. And so, and you might be at different, that was the one thing that we found when we talked to companies in our roundtables, they're at all different called TRL levels, technology readiness levels. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that what we're putting together is going to help you to execute and to get to your next milestone and get to add value to your company and your technology. And somebody asked, when will we be sending out the slide deck? I am happy to send that out just as soon as we're done with this presentation. So let's see. So next steps, our pre-traction applications, the deadline is May 31st. Rolling applications for the traction program, and then we'll be sending out, we're just waiting to finalize our keynote speakers to get our Quantum Investment Summit date. There's the website if you want to jump on. So that was the presentation. At this point, let's see, we have another question. Yeah, we got that. Are there any other questions that I haven't anticipated? I know this was a lot of information and I tend to talk fast, but again, I like to leave time open for you guys to tell me what you're interested in, what you need to know about. No questions, really. I addressed everybody's burning questions. Yes, let's see, we have a raised hand. Let's see. I think that the best way to do that, go ahead, Sunny, if you want to ask your question, you should be able to unmute yourself and talk.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Julie. Very good to see you again.
Yes.
So this is great. Love the Quantum Innovation Startup and Initiative. And the question I had was, there are a lot of things going on in quantum, particularly with IonQ and some of the things they've done with adding qubits. Do you also help support areas of research and licensing, into commercialization as a part of the program?
Absolutely.
To spin out companies? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, we have a large focus on our University of Maryland intellectual property. Are you talking about that comes out of University of Maryland, or are you talking about other institutions?
Yeah, any of them, right? I mean, do you help kind of broker those relationships, or if you have things that people have said, okay, this might be right for licensing, in terms absolutely. Of a tech that might be kind of to get a better sense of the market, since again, it feels like quantum is really ripe to boom, but also that it's a part of it could fit in a lot of different places.
Right, and that's a great comment, because so the thing about quantum is it's like pretty wide and pretty broad. And so we're also looking at quantum enabling technologies because, there's a lot of things that feed into the ability to do quantum. And so, so we're looking at quantum enabling. So part of our IP project is to catalog and bring together regional IP, and we will help you with some of that negotiation and getting that out and commercializing that. And if it happens to be University of Maryland IP, that opens up some other funding opportunities for you, mostly both non-dilutive and some dilutive.
Very exciting.
That help?
Yes, that was perfect.
All right, great. Thank you. Let's see, we have some more questions that I'm going to go ahead. What is the business model for QSF, equity, fees, etc.? You didn't miss it because there are no equity, there are no fees. Then why are we doing this? So I have a long history as an ecosystem builder. And one of the things that we have seen is that the ecosystem is global, and we don't want to cut off any global access to the ecosystem. That's going to help our researchers. It's going to help our startups if we're looking at this from a holistic perspective. So, our university has recognized that that quantum is a great opportunity. We want to be the quantum capital, the capital of quantum. We want to be in Maryland. So we recognize that we can't make you move to Maryland, but we also, in my experience, if you have, we have the resources, we have the community, we have the, the ecosystem that we're building. If you're looking for that and being located in that would be helpful for you, we want to make a place for you. So no trick. There's nothing hidden here. This is really about being a central catalyst for these world-changing technologies. So do any of the programs come with some priority hardware access to IonQ's quantum computer or IBM's? We are working through we are trying to work through some of the agreements to get that. So stand by for that. IonQ, of course, you can get many of those on AWS, I believe, right now, and I think also the Azure platform. So, but we are in conversations to get priority access. So thank you for that question. All right, let's see. Some examples of engagement with companies in the past cohorts. Well, we haven't had any past cohorts yet because this was just launched April 21st. But I will tell you that members of our advisory board, the way that they have talked about it, many of them are government contractors. And so they have large government customers that are very interested in quantum. But these customers are not necessarily solution providers, or they are solution providers, but they don't have their own research and development. They don't have their own technologies. And so they have come to us and said, we would love to get access to really innovative startups that we can partner with to go after contracts with, like, say, DARPA or the Navy, or different organizations within the government or large corporate. So so that we don't really have any examples yet, but those are the types of things that that we're looking at. So to get you in front of customers and partners to help talk about how to validate your technology and then how to go forward for particular opportunities. I already had a screening meeting. How do I know the status of my application? That's a great question. So applications, especially for the pre-traction, are not due till the end of May, and we should be getting back to folks very quickly after that. If we're going to start in mid-June, so very shortly after, if not before the end of May, we should get a response on the status. So thank you for that question. Let's see, does University of Maryland JQI have an existing fiber testbed for testing quantum networking devices? That's a great question. Is Amanda on?
Yeah, I'm here. So the answer for immediately is no, but it's definitely within the works.
It's in the work?
It's in the works. It's something that we would have to talk about on an individual basis.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Thank you. What is the difference between UMD's QSF versus an incubator or accelerator? So there's lots of incubators and accelerators around the world. So what we're really focused on is quantum specific needs. So we do have, from an incubator perspective, we do have space. We can connect you with our ecosystem, has a lot of lawyers and accountants and things like that. An accelerator is generally, you know, a cohort based. It's a time fence program. You go through with a bunch of people and you do a demo day at the end. We're not really doing that because, again, you know, if we have companies that come to us or faculty members that have come to us that have an idea, we've been referring them to like the Creative Destruction Lab. In fact, we're in conversations with them about how we can work together. So we made the conscious decision not to duplicate anything. It's more about how do we leverage what's already working and out there. So that's the difference. We're not taking equity. We're not requiring you to be physically here. We see it more as a market accelerator. So we're trying to accelerate the value to your company to get to market. So I hope that, and if you have another question, please feel free to submit a follow-up. Is this appropriate for someone starting a nonprofit or consulting or educational company in quantum? Let's talk about your needs specifically, about how our connecting in, how it might feed the ecosystem and how it might, in connecting with customers might be of value to you. Again, we want to make sure that we're providing value and that you're being able to move your company forward. So absolutely would love to have a conversation with that. Are we looking for business experience to tie to a quantum startup? Absolutely. If you are a business startup and you're looking for a business entrepreneur and you're looking for a startup, would love to talk to you. Likewise, we do recognize that connection to talent is really, really important. So we will be, if you're a technical startup and looking for a CEO, we have quite an extensive network that we'll be using to try and help you find, do some talent matchmaking. We actually do that with our spinoffs at the University of Maryland. We have a CEO matchmaking event at least once a year. And we've been very successful in placing both CEOs and COOs and things like that into these companies, people that have experience, come out of the business community, and usually they have some understanding of the industry, at least, if not the technology. So thank you for that. And is QSF exclusively for new companies and small businesses? No, we aren't. And in fact, we suspect that for the Traction program, you've got to have some type of product or service already developed that we're going to take live. So, and the Soft Landing generally is a company that's been established outside of the U.S. and wants to open a U.S. office. So the U.S. Entity might be a startup, but it's oftentimes a growing and sustainable business in the country that it's coming from. So no, we would love to talk with companies of all sizes that feel like they could make use of the ecosystem and the services that we're providing. Let's see. There's another question. I presume for the quantum projects, IP will be covered by Ventures. Are these quantum projects first vetted at Ventures? So we are. So I'm not sure I understand the full question. Quantum intellectual property coming out of the university, absolutely. Our technology transfer office is called Ventures. We do vet all of the intellectual property coming out before we decide whether or not to cover a patent. Ventures or the Tech Transfer Office will not cover patent costs for another institution's IP because generally that, or individually owned IP, because generally we don't own that, and we would have to assign it to us, and most people aren't going to do that. So I hope that's helpful. If that wasn't your question, please, maybe you can clarify. And maybe Amanda, this might be for you, the access to the quantum optics lab to validate quantum mathematical models and protocols, Amanda or John?
Some of the equipment that we are purchasing for the general lab that Julie spoke about would be sufficient, in my opinion, for this. I am not a quantum scientist, so I will say that. I just work with them. That being said, I do know that there are options for other usages of equipment on campus with startup companies that we can go through, and Julie can speak a little bit about that too. But there are those policies already in place with UMD for startups. Yeah,
I mean, happy to talk offline. John, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just jump in here and say, if you have particular needs or particular equipment that you're looking for, if it's at the University of Maryland, great. But if it's at one of the other members of the MQA, I am happy to help connect you in with that and really accelerate what the technical need is. So just shoot me a line and let me know.
Yeah, and you can reach us all through qsf@umd.edu if that's helpful. So any other questions? I don't see any in the Q&A. Hopefully we've been able to ask your questions. If you think of something afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out. As I mentioned, the deadline for the pre-traction program is actually the end of May. We'll take rolling applications for the traction program, and as soon as we have the date for the investment summit and the speakers, we will let you know. So with no other questions, good luck to you all and look forward to connecting with you. Soon. I was looking at a point of view from a PI in the labs here at Maryland. If a PI is interested in using the Foundry, will that PI go to UM Ventures for advice and input? Yes, that's a great place to start. Piotr is going to be working specifically in quantum and handling all the quantum disclosures and interfaces with the UM Ventures.
And I also work within the Quantum Technology Center, so happy to talk about that as well.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for your time, and we hope to see you in the coming future very soon. Thanks.